Howdy folks, it is Scanner here. We finally have a bit of juicy Trench Crusade drama. Now this is like legitimate real drama that I give a little bit of weight to instead of like crybaby drama or Twitter drama or pointless idiot drama. So let's get stuck into it. Recently, Trench Crusade announced their Prussian Bastruppen warband, and this was their big move into plastics. Yesterday, they put out a statement, press release, news story, whatever, on their website where they talk about the future of plastic in Trench Crusade and how things are going to go from now on and what all that is going to look like. And some elements of the community are pretty disappointed with some of the details of what this actually means. So let's just have a look at the statement, I guess, first. What they do is they talk about the different type of boxes that they'll be releasing. So there will be warband boxes. Warband boxes are the keystone of the plastic range, designed to provide the ideal entry point to each faction and variant for both new and experienced players. So basically, the Stostruppen is the perfect example of that. You can pick them up, you can start playing. Basically, you have what you need to make your warband. Then there will be troop boxes. They're the first step to expanding your warband, allowing you to tailor your core unit choices to your theme and style of gameplay. So you can like add on basically bits and pieces that you want and extend your warband. Then you have elite boxes. Elite boxes are specialized troops that give warbands access to new and unique ways to play on the battlefield. So basically you'll be boiling in or, diving down into the more nuanced tactical elements of things. Do you want to get like an elite box that has people with sniper rifles or SMGs or grenade launchers or whatever? They'll be available to you. And then hero boxes. Hero boxes, be they actual heroes, monsters, or unique units, contain some of the most powerful and iconic models in the game. So they're like probably going to be individual solo models with a few, configurations maybe. Some might have no changeable configurations, but there might be like different poses and things of that nature. So there you go. There's your boxes. They're going to be doing basically what everybody does. Like there's nothing here that's particularly surprising. Where things get more interesting is as we go on into the statement, there's a section on resin and STLs, and this is where things got pretty real for a lot of people. As a lot of you know, Trench Crusade got its start leveraging 3D printing technology via a very successful Kickstarter back in 2024. However, it immediately became apparent that 3D printing would not be able to keep up with demand for the game and the growth of the community. Thanks to this explosive show of support, we are grateful to have been able to pivot to plastic kits in under a year, and these will be our focus going forward. So, as to be clear as possible with this, there will be no major releases in STL or resin format in the future. That's the thing that has been upsetting for some people. So once again, I'm just going to repeat it. So as to be clear as possible with this, there will be no major releases in STL or resin format in the future. There will be a small wave of releases to round out the digital range once the Kickstarter is complete, but after that, we will only be releasing a very limited range of products this way. Things like accessories, special models, and terrain. To confirm though, the current range of 3D files and resin miniatures isn't going anywhere and will remain available. So you can still buy the STLs from my mini factory, and you can buy the resin models from Only Games if they are what you need to do or want. Or you can buy the STLs and have them printed by somebody else should you prefer. Whilst this may disappoint some of you, please understand that miniatures designed for plastic kits are exponentially more expensive to develop than resin miniatures, and it is just not viable to release them this way. In exchange, however, plastics will allow us to reach many more players around the globe via distribution and retail stores, which for you means you'll soon have many more Crusaders to square off against, events to attend, and friends to make. However, we are still planning to move forward with our community license. It has been reworked to account for the success of the game, but the idea remains the same. You can expect more news about this soon. Now, this is the community license that people have been waiting for details on, really since I'm pretty sure it was announced during the actual Kickstarter itself. And there's been no real transparency around what that might be publicly. So that's kind of interesting. But yes, people are quite upset and they want to be able to produce their STLs and play the game. Now, it should be noted the game is making no move away from the idea of freely available rules to download from the website or from mini agnosticism, where you can use anything that you want. People just want to be able to print the latest and greatest releases from STL, even if those things are also being released in plastic. And people who feel like the company should do both are kind of ignoring the fact that it's difficult to do both, no matter what way others explain it to them. And people who are cool with it are kind of ignoring the impact that it has on people who might be reliant on STLs and 3D printing to really feel like they are involved. So, all in all, it's pretty chunky drama and it's quite fun and interesting to watch in the Discord. But if we sit down and boil it down, it's, I think, a little understandable why people are upset. When Trench Crusade launched, there was a very big deal made about the advantages of STLs, the advantages of 3D printing, and how it would increase accessibility and more people would be able to play and all this kind of stuff. And now, in a way, those same things are being said about plastic models, that it will increase accessibility and more people will be able to play. And the reason why it might seem confusing is because technically they're both true. What matters is context and when these things are being said. If you have no money to produce anything, STLs are the way to go. I could release STLs tomorrow with very little money being invested. I could find myself some folks who are very good at sculpting, and I could get some 3D STLs done, and I could release them tomorrow. And it would obviously greatly increase accessibility because otherwise there'd be nothing. And that was very much true of Trench Crusade at the beginning. They had no budget. They had essentially nothing. They were working on a hope and a dream. So they put out their miniatures, everything kicked off really good, and suddenly they were ahead of their expected timeline. And they suddenly had the funds where they could properly start thinking about and investing in the concept of plastics. Now, I've never talked to anybody on the team about plastics. If anything, I would say I talk to the team or I get less information than ever at this point in time. I wasn't told about plastics. I had to chase them down for any kind of a press release about plastics, for any kind of decent quality images about plastics, because I was just forgotten about. So if you think that I've got some kind of like insider information on anything around this, you're absolutely crazy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a lot of assumptions just based off things that I saw and witnessed over the course of the last year or so. So everybody's wondering why they can't do STLs, why they won't do STLs going forward of this plastic range. And the reason is really, really simple. If you were paying attention to places like Etsy and similar storefronts, the second the official STLs launched, they were up for sale on various Etsy. Now, not just people promising to print your miniatures for you and send them to you, but I mean people were just selling like the files on Etsy, which that's one of the biggest downsides of 3D printing. Look, I love 3D printing. I've got filament 3D printers, I've got resin 3D printers, I 3D print tons of stuff. I really enjoy 3D printing, but the risks in 3D printing are crazy. I would never personally try and establish any kind of large scale business on the back of 3D printing because it's very difficult to stay ahead of the ne'er-do-well, basically, who want to just like take your stuff and put it out there for free. And I would imagine that that same pain is felt by all the people out there who are producing STLs every month and have their own tribes and their own My Mini Factories and their own Patreons and all that kind of stuff. I guarantee you that they put that stuff out there and a few days later they will see it being available on all these weird services, and they have to, either spend time trying to shut them down or just move forward. Now, that's fine to a degree when all you're doing is STLs. But when you're trying to do also a physical product, and it's not just the sales of your STLs that are being kind of bitten on by the availability of this stuff for free, it's also your physical products. And you need to invest a lot of money in those physical products. It is not cheap at all to do plastic miniatures in the year of our Lord 2025. It's more expensive than ever. So I understand from the business point of view, I really do, why they would be looking at it and thinking to themselves, maybe, we can't do STLs. It's going to absolutely maul our bottom line. If we want to be serious, if we want to move to that next step of being a business, we have to focus in on plastics. And they're not wrong. Ultimately, now, I think a mistake was made here. If I am honest, I think they should have done an official Trench Crusade tribe on My Mini Factory that people could sign up to and get like 1 or 2 models or something like that every month. And they have plenty of people who would have very happily sculpted those for them and put them out there, and it would have given STL folks a way to stay involved. Here's a variant of this, here's a variant of that, here's some yeomen, we're doing Air Rangers, here's some STL Air Rangers that we did up, some different ones. You know what I mean? And you don't have to provide everything, but you can still show some support and keep your foot in with the STL community, with the resin crowd. Now, they say they're going to be doing some stuff. I have no idea what that is. They said accessories, special models, and terrain. But I really feel like had they been doing some kind of little monthly, here's a thing, that it really would have like eased the impact of all this and given STL fans, 3D printing fans, a way to still feel connected and engaged with official models. I also think that announcing this without details of the community license ready to go is a mistake, because the community license might be getting dropped in at the end here, but it's being held up as a means of assuaging the concerns and the issues that the 3D printing community now has with the game. And there's no details on it, and that's a mistake, in my opinion. So, with regards to the 3D printing folks, I think you do need to understand that to like move forward as a business, yes, they want to grow. Like, they have an opportunity to grow, and they should probably take that opportunity to grow. If you watch channels run by retailers, and there's a really good channel called Lords of War Gaming, and they talk about things from the retail point of view. They've been cold on Trench Crusade this entire time. And I don't mean that in like a bitchy way, but it hasn't been for them. And the reason that they've explained it is it had nothing to offer them as retailers. Like, if people were coming in excited to play Trench Crusade in their shop, what kind of sales were they going to make? So it's a really good insight into what retailers need to see and how retailers can and will and won't support different games and why. And the reasons are very simple at the end of the day of they need to have something to sell. So this will give retailers something to sell. It's something that can be mass produced. It's something that is frankly much quicker to produce than resin stuff once you get rolling, and they can just do that kind of broader range and hope for the best. Like, this is a risk. Moving into plastic is without a doubt a risk, especially I feel doing it this way, because I feel like they've kind of cut off for a lot of people the avenue of ever returning now to STLs, should they need to do it in a meaningful way. They've basically planted their flag and said, look, we're Trench Crusade, it's now plastic or bust. Now, a lot of people are feeling like this is the game going back on its original premise of that notion that STLs would be around forever. Personally, I don't remember them ever saying that STLs would be around forever. I feel like they, talked about supporting STLs, but in a world of not clearly defining what it is you're saying or expecting to hear, I'm not really sure what argument people think they're having there. To me, supporting STLs mean we're going to stay selling the STLs that we have available. We're going to stay selling the resin prints that we have available, and we're going to remain mini agnostic. And if you want to, print and play with whatever, that's something you can do, whatever way you want to do it, as long as the other person on the other side of the table agrees with you. You can roll up with Malibu Barbies or your Auxilia Sorcerers if you want to. And as long as the other person goes, yeah, that's fine, I'm good playing it, you're free to do what you want. So that's just my take on things. I don't feel, as somebody who's been 3D printing this whole time, and don't forget, I got into 3D printing specifically because this game, the STLs were available and I wanted to play. So that's what pushed me over the edge into 3D printing. I did a video about it when I reached out to Elegoo and said, yo, give me like an idiot proof printer. Like, I want to know which printer you have that's idiot proof so I can buy it. And then they were kind and they sent it to me for free. So thank you very much. But I don't feel necessarily betrayed, possibly because I'm just trying to be reasonably realistic about what it is that's occurring. But I don't know if I can definitely sit down and tell people who might feel betrayed that they shouldn't, ultimately. Because the problem, if there's one problem Trench Crusade has, and now it's about to start reaping what it's sowed, and is possibly one of the reasons why they talk less and less and less to folks like me, is because a lot of language at different points has been kind of wishy-washy. You know, you need to be very clearly defined in what it is that you're doing. It's probably definitely for the best. Like, if they're reworking the community license, it is absolutely for the best that they have never talked about the community license in any kind of detail or what that might entail or shown any legalese from it at any point up until now. Like, that's fantastic. But there's a lot of kind of, oh, we want to do this and we're all about the community and we're all about this, that, and the other language over the course of the development of the game. And I'm not discounting that, and I'm not saying that's not true. But the unfortunate part of it is when you're in a maelstrom of this company and it's suddenly growing and growing and growing, and new people are coming in all the time, and the goalposts are constantly moving out ahead of you as these bigger and bigger dreams are being allowed to occur within the minds of the people who work there, you can run into these unfortunate moments now where segments of the community feel like they've been promised a thing, and that thing is now no longer going to be delivered to them. And it doesn't matter if I agree with them or disagree with them, or if anybody at Trench Crusade disagrees with them or disagrees with them, or if you disagree with them or not. That's just how they're going to feel. So there's going to be some churn over this, right? There's going to be some people who potentially drop playing the game. And from a business point of view, I don't know if anyone, and like, as I said, I don't talk to people in Trench Crusade about the business. I don't talk to Factory Fortress about their business. They'd have no reason to talk to me about their business. But if it was me, because of my experience in various industries, I would have sat down and had a conversation with people and thought about it and said, we're going to lose potentially X percentage of currently active consumers. So we need to work that in. That's what we instantly need to replace with the moves into plastic and get ourselves back up to baseline, and then consider that from that point growth. Because that's just my brain, man. That's business minded. People can sit there maybe listening to this and think, Scanner, that's a bit fucking cold or whatever. But that's business. That's the way it works. That's what people paid me to think for years, was about that aspect of stuff. If we do A and it pisses off Y amount of people, the first thing we need to do is be ensure that we're going to be replacing Y amount of people. So I've no idea if they've sat down and thought about that aspect of it or considered it, or what way those considerations would have gone. But frankly, from somebody who wants to see the company do well and the game do well, I would say they've not handled this situation as well, maybe, as they possibly could. Um, it kind of feels a little like, oh, we'll drop this announcement on the 3rd, and then we'll drop all the rules and stuff on the 4th, and the conversation will like swallow up the the annoyance that people are feeling about the resin and the STLs and stuff. And look, I don't know if that's the case either, but that's the look. Does that make sense? So yeah, I don't really know. It's some fun drama, and I wanted to just kind of talk about it a little bit. I don't want to be seen as somebody who's ignoring these moments because they're very interesting to me. From the business point of view, am I primarily a lore channel? Yes, but I love the business side of things, man. I love talking about the industry. I love talking about the way that these things work and have to work, and it would be beautiful if they did work in such a certain way, but they don't, and all that kind of stuff. So let me know in the comment section, basically, how are you feeling? Are you feeling mad about the STLs? Do you not really care because you're a plastics person? Are you living somewhere in the world now where you're just not really feeling like you're going to be able to partake anymore in the hobby because those STLs will no longer, keep flooding and be available for you as the game expands? Or are you really looking forward to seeing what the community license covers and what the various STL producers in the scene will do from the point of view of third party miniatures? But yeah, let me know how you're feeling down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like the video only if you actually liked the video. Remember to curate your subscription pages. Kick out the people you don't like, even if those people are me, and just check there to see everybody's uploads because your main screen on YouTube is not going to show you what you want to see. Thank you so much for watching.